to share with you something nice on this week's Parshas from the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchok Zatzal. In this week's Parsha, we have how Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded by Hashem to dress up Aaron HaKohen, the high priest, and he had what's called the Shmoyne Begodim, the 8 garments. These 8 garments he had to wear whenever he did the avodah through the year. So the question is, ask Rabbi Yitzchok, what's the significance of 8, the number 8 begodim garments? The 8 also divided into 2 parts. You had 4 that were made out of linen and 4 that also had gold in it. Being out of Rabbi Yitzchok, another detail, even on Yom Kippur, where the Kohen Gadol would do the service with the service of the Yom Kippur day would be done only with the 4 begodim, the 4 garments of linen. However, there was twice that day, the morning avodah and the afternoon service. Each time you have to wear 4, which is a total again of 8 begodim. So we see that there's 8 the whole year round. Even on Yom Kippur, there's an emphasis on the number 8. And also, there was, like we said before, there was 4 and 4 linen, 4 gold. What's the background, the reason of all this? Explains Rabbi Yitzchok. The Zoya in Chele Gimel, Idra Rabbah, Tav Kuf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, says a phenomenal thing. And this Zoya, the Rebbe's father uses in so many areas to explain a lot of dinim that we have. And that is, if you look in the end of Parshas Vayishlach, you will see that these were the kings that reigned by Eretz Edom, by Esau. And if you look, you will look good, brings out the Zohar. The first 7 is different than the 8th. The 8th one is called Hodor, the king, the beautiful king. Basic 2 differences between the 7 kings and the 8th is that by all 7, it says Vayomas, they died. As if there was no kiyum, there was no, it didn't last, their kingdom. By the 8th, doesn't say Vayomas, doesn't say he died. Also, the first 7, it doesn't say he had a wife. The 8th king, Hodor, it says Mehitavel, that Hodor and Mehitavel were married together. Brings out the Zohar. There is Olam HaToyu and Olam HaTikun. In Olam HaToyu, it's a chaos, and over there is where you have a Yomois, there where you have, doesn't last. And also, it doesn't have the proper avodah. The proper avodah is tikkun, which a person has to know. He has to be practical, and he has to bring down godliness into this physical world. And that's why it's a mitzvah for every person to get married and to be multiply and be fruitful, because you have to, in addition to have your ruchnistic part of your world, you also have to bring it down to affect the gashmis. Heaven and earth have to bond. That is the whole mission of Dira B'Tachtonim. In Toyu is where you remove yourself from the world and you don't affect the world in a proper way. That is chaos. And that's why the first 7 kings brings out the Zohar, didn't have a wife, and by Yomais, it didn't last. By Hodor, Meitavel mentions the husband and the wife, and that's why they had the true Olam HaTikun. And that's why it's known that from this Melech Hodor started the world of Tikkun, even by the Goyim. Now you'll understand, says Rabbi Yitzchok, how this relates also to the Kohen. Look, a Kohen Godly should know, even on the day of Yom Kippur, if you want to do the service, the Gemara learns out in Masechta Yuma, so he had to have V'chipe ba'ado ba'ad beis, he has to ask forgiveness for himself and his house. He has to be married, because without that, that's Olam HaToyu, that's not Tikkun. We need the Shmoina, the 8, and that's why he was Shmoina Begodim, corresponding to this 8th king. And here the Rebbe Levi says so beautiful. Why there was 4 Lavan and 4 Zohov. He says there's two names of Hashem, which when you connect together, that's like heaven and earth. Ruchnius and Gashmius. And that's Shem Havaya, which has 4 letters, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and Shem Adnai, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. When you bond together, that's like the bond of a husband and wife. Shemayim va'oretz, heaven and earth, the Ruchnius and Gashmius. And that is what Hashem wants, that a Yid should know his avoid is not only Ruchnius, but it has to come down also in Gashmius, also Ishtoi. And that's the bond of the Ches, of the 8 and the 4 and the 4, Shem Havaya, Shem Adnai. And this explains so many beautiful reasons why we have the number 8 in general, even Yom Kippur, the 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, but also why the Shmoyne Begodim, because we have to not follow those 7 kings and to elevate the world from the Olam HaToyu into the world of Tikkun, to correct the world. And the only way is by affecting the world, bringing Torah mitzvahs in the world, Dira B'tachtoinim, and that's how we fulfill Hashem's kavanah, Hashem's intention of B'riyas Ha'olam, of bringing down godliness into this physical world, involving ourselves in this physical world and elevating it. Have a good Shabbos.